how we start the episode. I clicked it.
You told me I wasn't supposed to ask if we were live.
Hiatus.
I just wanted to make sure.
I clicked it.
It's live. It's your girl Kimmy Ann coming from the Illuminerdi. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Crit. Ooh, let me turn that volume off so there's no echo. We have the amazing Danny in the clouds. We have Woogie down below. He's sick, so he's a little bit more sassy than usual. This is the Illuminerdi
Wait.
channel.
If Danny's in the clouds, am I in the dungeon?
Yes, with the little ghost swords.
Wait, are they attacking me or are
No,
they protecting me?
they're just there for your friendship.
Okay, cool. I'm cool
You
with that.
look, you told me you wanted more like violence in the thingy, so I gave you ghosts with swords.
You know what? When I think of violence, I think of ghosts with swords. So thank you. That.
I mean, I guess you should have not asked the cozy gamer for violence. That was your first mistake. But anyways, thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you're not already, please like and subscribe. Follow the Illuminerdi for all of your pop culture needs. And let's kick it off with, what did you guys play this week?
I played practically nothing. I just got really burnt out on video games, and I'm just like kind of chilling for the week.
Are you sure you're the best person for this video game show?
Listen, when you're making as much content as we are, you don't really want to play in your free time every time.
I think that's also important to say. I think one of the best tips I ever saw when someone was talking about like game reviews was they were like, have the games you review and then have a game that you play for fun. Like, completely separate the two, because you might review games that you want to, but you gotta have that game where you're just like, I do not have to think about this in any freaking capacity. Did you see how I caught my curse right there? Yeah, I'm great. Anyways.
I don't know. It's also, I mean, it's interesting too, because like, you can really get a good review if you review a game that you like. Like,
That's
you can really get into it. So that's a tough like balance to find. So I think I think we can all agree, though, just not playing games for a week is probably the wrong answer. So
it's my answer, like
Joke's
it or
on
not.
you, Wiggy, because I also didn't really play a game. I mean, I did the Lightyear Frontier game. I was playing that for a review. Check it out on our channel. But other than that, I have not been able to play a game yet. Although I am about to dive into a review game this weekend, which I'm really excited for, which is called Broken Roads. It was supposed to come out last year, and it is getting ready to come out, I believe, April 10th, so next week. It has this cool system where it's like an RPG, old style, kind of like, oh my god, what I was going to say turntable, but that's not the phrase. What is the...
Turn-based?
Thank you, turn-based.
record vinyl?
Turntable.
It's a
It's a DJ RPG.
It's a
DJ Hero 2 is out.
Stop it. It's a turn-based game, but what I'm really excited for is they have this incredible, from what I've seen from the trailer, this incredible kind of like emotional outcome map. So every choice you make really kind of dives into your character and like all of these different complexities. So coming off Baldur's Gate, I'm really excited to kind of see how, if they keep that option with like a lot of choices, because I really liked that from Baldur's Gate. But what about you, Woogie? What'd you play? From what century?
Okay, I mean, believe it or not, I've been playing Balatro, more Balatro, lots of Balatro, and I have won. I have won so many times now. I have won so many times. I'm getting so good at this game. I'm actually going through the challenge modes now because I'm so good at it. And then, but in my off time, not playing Balatro, I am still once again attempting to beat the honor mode of BG3, and I am so mad because I know, like, I understand that like I can be bad at it, right? Like I could just be, going, guns blazing and not paying attention to, my strategy and stuff. But that's not the problem, because every single time that I've lost, it has been in a place where I've won before. But like they get the perfect initiative roll. They get the perfect critical. They get the one of the first times was the Minotaurs. There's 2 Minotaurs in the freaking Underdark. They're just there. They're not even bosses. They're just Minotaurs. And they just completely destroyed me. And then the next time I went back there, I like hunkered down. I was like, these guys aren't going to get me. And I flasked up and everything. And they died without even any effort. So I'm like, and then this last time, I was in the Get the Yankee Crash. I've beaten these guys so many times. So many times have I beaten the Get the Yankee. No, they just friggin' pummeled me to death. And I'm so mad. So I started another playthrough. And I think this is the one, you guys. I think this is the one.
I have.
I will
wait
not
until
stop.
until
I will
next week.
not stop playing Baldur's Gate until I win honor mode.
Well, I think I have to say I was never, what is it called, a scum saver. I was never a scum saver, but also I don't really play games like Baldur's Gate on a regular basis. So I went in like, I'm not gonna scum save. And I think towards the 3rd act, I was like, screw it. I've invested too much into this game to let something like whatever. And even at that point, I was still stuck
that's the
on
problem,
that cliff.
though.
Right, because
In
you
honor
can't
mode,
do that
you
in this.
can't. You just can't.
Which
And
I think is the point of why it's so difficult.
yeah, but at the same time, though, it's like all of these bosses that kill me, like I easily beat, and it's not like a thing of like, oh, I changed my tactics or I changed my classes that I have in my party. They just get lucky, and I'm like, how am I supposed to do anything against that? Luck is not a skill. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
So mad.
How many times do you think you've played now? I know this has to be at least the 3rd episode that you've discussed this.
How many times have I played honor mode? And by the way, and for the record too, I have never once continued in honor mode after I've died. I have deleted the save every time.
Oh, you're going like honor mode. You're like,
Yeah, I'm not even.
new
I'm
life.
yeah. I'm not saying like I could play through in tactical and get that achievement for it, but I'm like, no. If I die in honor mode, I start a new character. I think I've probably done 15 different runs at this point.
What's the furthest you've made it?
I made it to the main boss of Act 1, the Avatar of Merkel. That was my last run, and I'm so mad because again, he wiped me out there, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I brought everybody with me, and he just didn't take damage, so I'm like, great, so now when I get back to him, that'll probably be where I lose next time. Like, that one was actually, like, really, really hard, and I couldn't see, like, a luck thing, but, yeah, although, I know you didn't ask the question, but I'm pretty sure you want to know what's the least far I've got.
Yes.
And yes, I have died multiple times in the Nautiloid because...
Did you punch a jar?
No. I mean, yeah, but like, no, like, I want the sword. The guy has a sword.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what I try to do is I try to statistically, or not strategically plan it out so that I move one character up by the transponder so I can connect it if I'm about to lose.
Right.
But then he just friggin' one-shots everybody all the way up and just destroys everything. And I'm like, oh, okay, and I don't get time to... So that's 2 times that's happened to me now.
2
So now
times
at this
you've
point I'm
lost
like-
in the tutorial.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
And you said you're making
for,
a character.
thank you for clarifying that.
For those that haven't played Baldur's Gate.
I challenge
rough.
anybody to get that sword in honor mode without dying multiple times before getting it. I challenge anyone.
Wait.
No, you don't have to get the sword, but...
Did you say that you're making a new character every time?
Yeah, and I change the class every time, although I still have yet to play Cleric or Warlock because those suck. Also Druid, I don't like Druid.
Are you just like hitting the dice? Like
What?
the dice
What
to
do you mean by that?
the ramble.
Randomizer? No.
Thank you.
I'm every time I meticulously create a new character.
Oh my god, no way in hell.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I
All of
could
my
never.
characters are unique. I've gone through every single section to give them the right look and genitals.
How many hours
This
do
is
you
why
have in
we
Baldur's
don't.
Gate 3?
Let's find out. Baldur's Gate 3.
It's
Now
gotta be up there, man.
this will include all the time that I like leave it paused in the background and go do something
And go
else.
take care of a child.
All right. Do we want to do Price is Right rules over under? I've got the number here. Who wants
Okay,
to?
I'm
go
gonna
ahead,
say 682.
I was, no joke, gonna say 782.
Okay. All right. Maybe this means that I'm just really bad at the game, but I've only had 384 hours.
No
Okay.
way!
Oh, because
No
I figured because
fucking
you've cleared the
way.
game multiple times, like normally.
No.
I've cleared it.
No.
I've cleared it once.
Hold
No.
on.
Okay.
Hold on. I need to bring up mine.
No, wait, no, twice. I've cleared it twice normally. Yeah.
Give me a second.
Yeah, I'm just efficient. You know, I
What's
I
this
take
game
care of
called?
things.
Baldur's Gate. What? How do I find my played hours? Okay.
It's in this.
Okay,
It's in
I
the
found
section
it.
called played hours.
I found it. I have not finished one campaign. I'm in chapter 3. How many hours do you think I have?
130.
250.
240 hours.
Ah, you busted over.
How?
Yeah,
How
I mean,
have you
I
had
did say Price is
15
Right
auto
rules, so.
runs, played this game, completed all the way through, and I'm still in my first run through?
Because I'm efficient.
No, that's why every time
Yes.
I asked you for something in the
Efficient
first
at
round, you'd be
dying.
like,
No, he's
I
very.
have
You
no
remember
idea who you're talking about.
when we were playing our campaign, he was like the most efficient person I've
You
ever
guys
seen.
would be going and doing all of your stuff, and I would just sort our inventories.
Yeah, he's just stealing stuff and sorting everyone's inventories while we're just causing chaos.
Look, he would steal it and then give us the other stuff. Like, he would be like, here, you don't need this sword, but you can have this one instead. Okay, so before we get into the stories of the day, let's quickly run through some of the releases this week. We have Deceit 2, Freedom Planet 2, Turbo Golf Racing.
What?
Yes, we have, this is mostly on the PC side now because these are all from Steam I got. Saverless, Kitchen Crisis, what is that? Pathless Woods, Quit Today, Planet Tiles is how I think it's supposed to be said, Beat Slayer, Sons of Valhalla, and Biomorph.
I don't know what Turbo Golf Racing is, but I'm in already.
I would assume there is golfing and turbos involved.
It looks like Rocket
Not racing,
League,
though.
but
Not
golf.
racing. The turbo is the racing.
It honestly does sound like something that would have come out on PS2 back in like
Yeah,
2004.
like when they made all those like boat racing games, like the speed boats and stuff.
You know which one I wish they would bring back? What was the first PlayStation game? That guy who rapped and then like maybe it was like the PlayStation 2
A Rapper
game.
the Rapper.
Yes. Bring that
And
back.
Jammer Lammy. Well, I mean, technically they did, right?
Did
Because
they?
you have Beat Saber and you have Rock Band.
That's not the same thing.
It
I
is.
want my
It's
paper
rhythm-based
people.
music.
I want the like.
Oh, you want the
Mascots.
art style?
I want
Okay,
the
well,
art
that's
style.
Fine. Well, play Jammer Lammy if you haven't, because that was the sequel.
Okay. So, we got news. It's a new week. Gaming stuff happened. What?
Yeah, speaking
going
of
on?
games that are coming out,
All right, go ahead. I have a topic that I'm really excited to talk about, and I think you know which one it is. So you can do
Yeah,
yours, and then I'll do mine.
speaking of games that are coming out, Hollow Knight Silksong, the very anticipated sequel, right? It's a sequel. But the next game in the Hollow Knight series might be coming out sometime soon.
Nice.
I don't know if you guys have played Hollow Knight, but incredible game. But the second game is, I don't know, when did they initially announce Silksong? It seems like forever ago that it was like first announced. Yeah, February 14th, 2019 this game was announced. And the Hollow Knight fandom has just been desperate for any sort of update. Didn't technically get one this week, but um, it all of a sudden has a page on the Xbox store, and I guess it didn't before. And I think I saw that it got rated by it got rated in Korea or something like that. And then um, when the Xbox store page popped off on Twitter, Sarah Bond, the president of Xbox, like retweeted the tweet and was like, "Who's excited for day one on Game Pass?" As then like, but there's been no like confirmation that this Xbox store page means anything. But then the president of Xbox more or less commented on it. So Hollow Knight Silksong might be at least getting some sort of release date or news about a release date sometime soon.
That makes sense though, because Hollow Knight. So that's one of the games that's on my list to play, but I haven't played yet, and it's because everyone always talks about it in super high regards. But it's on Xbox Game Pass for free, and I think there's a second one. Is this the third one or is this the second one?
I think this is the second game. I don't know if it would be considered a sequel.
Okay. I feel like there was another game that's always suggested to me with Hollow Knight, but so to me it would make total sense that they would be using like Xbox Game Pass as day one type situation.
Oh, sorry, it is a complete sequel to Hollow Knight. It originally started as DLC, and it's now.
Okay, maybe that's why I've seen it before. Then I feel like because the DLC came out, right? And then are they expanding it or?
This one like kind of grew into its own separate game.
That's cool.
Looks like, but yeah, I mean, kind of exciting for all the.
I just hope that
fans.
the Knight is finally solid. You know, like I feel like that was a big problem.
Yeah.
I'm just so befuzzled by your dad joke.
Oof. All right. So Hollow Knight Silksong, when it comes out, when it eventually releases, will be on Xbox Game Pass day one, and more or less going to the other side of the pond from Xbox Game Pass, PlayStation Plus game catalog, which is their more or less competitor, if you can call them a competitor, to Game Pass, announced this week that Tales of Kenzera, Zhao, and Dave the Diver will be on PlayStation Plus game catalog on day one of both of those
Nice.
releases. That's pretty.
Stop it.
I mean, that's two pretty large, significant games. I feel like for PlayStation to get day one. I looked it up, and they've gotten a few other day ones before, but these are definitely like the most notable day one releases for PlayStation's side.
I do find it interesting that they don't hit day ones as hard as I feel like Xbox does.
Because a lot of Xbox Game Pass day ones are Xbox Studio games.
Okay.
I think, and so like that's kind of helps them out on getting it day one on Game Pass. But yeah, I mean, PlayStation also just doesn't market PlayStation Plus game catalog. It also has a horrible name. And there's also like 3 different tiers of it or something.
We've talked about this before.
I
If you want to know our personal opinions, check out other episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they just don't market it as much. And so no one really even particularly cares that much about it. I don't even know anybody who has it.
Xbox all the way. Not a sponsor.
Yeah, we can kind of pivot back to Xbox, and apparently Microsoft is working on an Xbox AI chatbot. So
what does that even
thank God
mean?
Xbox is putting their resources towards things that are necessary. It's going to, from what I understand, they kind of hope that this will eventually replace all support employees.
Oh,
So
like
it'll
if you
just
have an
be
issue
like
with the
Xbox
game.
support. Yeah, employees have been testing a virtual chatbot that can help with support queries and game refunds.
Interesting. I wonder. I feel like the real issue is when your account gets hacked and you have to get like 8 games refunded. How well they'll hold up to an AI bot.
Yeah, my big thing is I just want to know like how easy it is to explain your problems to this chatbot. I feel like that's, like that's kind of like the only gripe you can have with any support staff is that they just don't understand what you're trying to tell them. Like they don't get what your very specific problem is.
Right.
Um, so I mean, it'll be interesting to see if this AI chatbot can do that. I mean, like I feel like this was also like kind of expected. I feel like unfortunately, like those support roles are just kind of like the easiest to replace with this kind of tech. So I mean, as long as it's not like drastically affecting like people's lives, which I imagine it is, because I would imagine that people would lose their jobs over this. But you know,
I've
ex-
got 2 things to say
Okay.
about that.
What do you gotta say, Woogie?
The first is that when you said that they were doing an AI chatbot, I thought that it was a bot that would be able to hurl racial insults at enemies in Modern Warfare for me, so that I didn't have
Woogie.
to do it. So I'm disappointed about that. But the second thing is about just AI chatbots in general. Um, I think for the most part, luckily, uh, it's not seeming to, from what I've seen in the sector that I work in, it hasn't really been replacing roles. It's been allowing them to better serve like actual issues, right? Like if it's something that the bot can actually answer, then that person doesn't have to take time away from an agent, and whereas the agent can
okay,
now
I
spend
got
more
you.
time. So for the most part, it seems like they kind of know that it's never going to just like full out replace it. Anytime they've tried to, like I forget who it was that they were in the news a couple weeks ago. They had an AI bot that like gave a massive refund to somebody, and it's like, yeah, you can't trust bots to do everything. Like
Right.
that's a problem. But yeah, so from what I've seen, that's been the more likely usage, is like trying to get people questions answered that could be answered in FAQs by just providing them with a good response to it.
It's like all the simple
Yeah.
issues. Is
I
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
Of
that's
course,
nice.
it could
Yeah,
get a lot better, or a lot worse, I guess. Like in that case, but
yeah.
I think most companies see that it's not really viable, and I don't think it ever will be personally. I mean, you can tell. You can just tell when you're talking to a bot, no matter how good it is. No matter what version of ChatGPT 4 you use, you could never be convinced that it couldn't pass the Turing test. Like
well
it is very obviously a robot, and it very obviously gets things wrong. So
well I feel like I have 2 takes on this. One from someone who's done customer service in like that type of situation, and I feel like it kind of sucks in a way because usually when you get hired, it's almost like it's not a promotion, but it's kind of a promotion. They usually use like learning the chat side and doing chat and phone calls as a way to make a few extra cents and take on responsibility, which is nice. So it makes me feel like it's going to remove that then, because you don't really need someone in that chat section anymore. As well as I want to say it was John, not John Oliver, John Stewart, who did something this week on AI and how we're already seeing it kind of replace jobs and stuff like that. So if you are interested in topics like that, highly recommend to check out that video. I am not smart enough to have any opinion on AI except for I do my best not to use it in any form because it steals people's artworks and works, and I am not okay with that. But I am not smart enough to understand how it works.
oh, you guys, I think this is a perfect opportunity, by the way, when we're talking about art and artwork. Um, do you want to Woogie teaches a cool lesson
Sure,
today? Would
Woogie.
that be
What are you
something?
going to teach us
It's a little
today?
bit of a tangent, but this is something I learned from a British television show, and I thought that maybe this would be interesting for people to know. Of course, this here I'll try to try to. Map
the painting.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you know this painting,
Scream?
right?
Isn't it called The Scream?
It is called the Scream. Now, what is this guy doing in the painting?
Is he
Screaming?
screaming?
That's actually not correct. I know it seems like he is, but
Right,
actually, he is hearing the scream. I believe the scream is
Oh.
from nature, and he's hearing it, and that's why his hands are up.
Ah.
So
But
that's
his-
just a little
but
bit
his
of
mouth is also open.
Yeah,
Because
but
he's screaming while he's hearing
no,
it.
he's surprised.
Surprised.
He's hearing the scream of nature. He doesn't know what it is. He's surprised. It is.
Interesting.
So that's just a little useless trivia that you
Wookie,
can
can
throw
I
out
ask
at
you what is the
Why-
credential for this? Like,
Where
where
did
did
it
you
come
learn
from?
this?
Well, I learned it from, and this is something that I highly recommend everybody do. There's an old British show that unfortunately got canceled very recently. It's called QI. It used to be hosted
I
by
love
Stephen
Q. I
Fry.
hate the host.
What?
The guy host.
No, Stephen Fry isn't the host anymore. Now
Okay, good.
it's Sandy.
I'm glad you knew who
Sandy
I...
from Great British Bake Off.
Yeah, I like her.
Sandy, she's great and she's really smart.
But I do
And
not
so
like Stephen
obviously
Fry.
they have. That's okay. You don't have to. But I'd highly recommend everybody go and watch them. They have amazingly funny packs, and the comedians are always great. And that is my credential for teaching everybody about the screen.
Nice.
I love the trivia knowledge, but like I'm just so confused what caused that to pop into your head.
We were
Somebody said
talking about
art.
artwork.
Somebody said
AI
art.
You said I know a thing about art.
This is the
Honestly,
one
I'll
thing
I'll
I
give you
know.
okay.
Let me
I'll
share.
give you this one insight into how my head works, and then we can move on. She said it steals artwork. I remembered one of the first generated artwork things I saw was something done in the style of Starry Night. Starry Night has that same kind of style that he has in the Scream with the strokes,
Therefore,
and that made me think of the
the dots
Scream.
got
And
connected.
exactly, so
I see.
you're welcome.
I concur on your logic there. Speaking of, I don't know, because I don't know what the next story is. Segue, lead us into the next one.
Video games are art, and somebody's got to make that art.
Who's gonna make that art?
Well, a nice little studio that goes by RGG Studio, Ryu ga Gotoku, the developers of the Yakuza series, my prized possession at this point in my life. They announced that they are working on a new project, and they are holding auditions in Japan later this year for actors in that project.
So we don't know
What's
what
that?
the project
Wait,
is.
hang
We
on.
just know that they're casting for it.
Yeah, they're just casting for it.
Chris is
But they did
Chris is telling me it's not Yakuza anymore. If you could please make the correction of what
the Like a Dragon series.
Thank you. That was it was. He just wanted to make sure that we made that correct.
Chris could have just edited my mouth to say Like a Dragon in post.
I told him. I said I didn't want to say anything, but he insisted.
They did confirm that it would not be Yakuza Kiwame 3, which would be like a remake of the third game, like they've done for the first two. They confirmed it wasn't that, but they do think that they will eventually make a remake of the third game sooner or later, is what they said. But yeah, interesting. I know neither of you play that series, but I saw it.
I've always been enthralled by it, though. I love seeing people play it.
Wait, you don't play the
such
series?
a weird game.
You don't play this series, and you were correcting him.
Yes. Well, no,
Yeah.
I wasn't. It was
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris was.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's fair. They rebranded. It's not even the games aren't even really about the Yakuza anymore. So it makes sense.
It's also not
But
like dragons, so that's really weird.
it is though, because every main character, it's a whole thing. It means it means something. There's meaning behind it.
I love how confident you are on games you've never played.
It's like me and Alan Wake too. Like still to this day I haven't played it, but during
You would
like
die on
the
that hill
award
for that
season
game.
I was all in on it. But yeah, you know, I've been. You mentioned earlier how like you always have to have that game that you like fall back on. And mine has for like the last 2 months been like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I've just gotten to a point in the game where I have to grind really hard, and this week that's just like not what I wanted to do when I was relaxing and playing video games. I did play a little bit of Dragon's Dogma 2, just to kind of get back in the swing of things. And Dragon's Dogma 2 has sold 2.5 million units
Wow.
in I think 11 days of it being out, which
That's
is
awesome.
crazy. I just need them to fix the PC performance, so I can enjoy the game as it was meant to be enjoyed, and not be playing at 30 FPS, because of how many NPCs have spawned.
I mean, how do you not know that 30 FPS is the expected behavior?
I mean, I'm sure it is, but you know, it also isn't. You know, we're in 2024. Another little piece of news I have on this is about Sea of Thieves and its performance on PlayStation 5. And Sea of Thieves on PlayStation 5, when it releases later this month, is going to be able to play 4K resolution at 60 FPS, or 1080p at 120 FPS, which is kind of crazy. And it honestly might be the first console game that can do that. I don't know if what other console games are running at 120 FPS.
Yeah, I think most of them are like, trying to hit 100, but nobody's actually hit the 120 mark like regularly. If they're saying that, then that means they're really confident in it. So that is very interesting. And well, I mean, it's even more interesting is most 4K TVs don't do 120. So
Right.
it's gonna be really good for some people.
Yeah, like if you have like a $3,000 TV, you'll be able to experience Sea of Thieves on your PlayStation 5 at 120 FPS. There was something I meant to say on top of that, and I just completely forgot what it was.
Was it that we're getting back into Sea of Thieves?
Yeah.
I'm so down. I have never really played. I've played like once, but I want.
Oh, I remember. Sorry. This also kind of makes me wonder. I mean, I get that Sea of Thieves is like an older game, and it's not like super graphically intense or anything, but this also, I feel like, furthers the argument that we do not need to be at the end of this console life cycle. If the PS5 can get 120 FPS on Sea of Thieves, but for that conversation, go listen to our last week's episode.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Kimmy?
I don't remember. Oh, something about we should play Sea of Thieves.
Yes.
Okay, good comment.
Thank you.
We're gonna do some live streams. I have planned these without talking to you guys about it.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah, I guess we'll be there.
Yeah. We'll do some
way.
live streams for its release. I think it's at the end of the month, so there's a while until that. But I mentioned that on a previous episode also. I think episode 3, if you want to go listen to that for that 10-second conversation about Sea of Thieves.
If I could,
No,
I would like to bring up. I would like to bring up something.
Okay.
This is just recently Kotaku had published.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, Kotaku has published something that I've been waiting to be validated for and be told finally that I'm right and everybody else just doesn't understand. The title of the article is 60% of playtime in 2023 went to 6-year-old or older games, new data shows. And I just want to emphasize that from day one, I have been saying, I've been playing games that are 15, 20 years old. I've been playing a game that came out 5 years ago. I'm replaying this. And I am ready now for your apologies.
Well,
you have been a resident old head gamer. But I'm not gonna apologize.
Look,
to you.
I told you this.
I'm sorry, unless you can take something like, unless you can prove that I took the headline out of context and actually prove that most of the games on there are games that I've said that I specifically won't play, then I want an apology.
Look, you can have your Cyberpunk. I will give you that. That's the one game that I think falls within that category they're talking about.
But that no, okay, you got Starfield too. You got Starfield, but in Starfield's defense, it runs like it's a 6-year-old game. It just so happened to come out last year.
I don't like this Starfield slander, and I won't stand for it.
But Sims 3 does not count.
Yeah, now if you're on The Sims 4, which did make the list, that'd be a different story. But yeah,
as long as the #1 game isn't something shitty like Fortnite.
That's the thing, though. Like,
sorry, what's
this?
It is
It is.
It is #1. Oh,
it is. It's like this is. I mean, this is a very interesting chart, I will say, and this is a very interesting data from this study. It was market research done by Newzoo that Kotaku was reporting on, because the headline is great. The headline is great video game journalism because you read it and you do think like Woogie,
I'm finally right.
Strictly older games, but then you look at the list and almost every single one of them is a live service game that has been out for 6+ years, I guess.
Was Overwatch 2 on that list?
Overwatch.
Nobody plays Overwatch.
Overwatch 2 is not on this list. #1 is Fortnite. #2, Roblox, Minecraft, CS2 and CSGO, Sims 4, Call of Duty, League of Legends, Valorant, GTA 5, and Rocket League were the top 10 for PC.
Damn, I didn't know people
and
were
it's
still
pretty
playing
much
Rocket League.
pretty much the same games across all the consoles until you get to Nintendo.
Nintendo had some weird ones.
Nintendo, it's like Breath of the Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario 1, all their big games, regardless if they're multiplayer or not, are on their list. Hogwarts Legacy was the #9 game on a Nintendo Switch, and I can't even imagine how poorly that game runs on a Nintendo Switch. But
I feel like that speaks so much, volume to. That's not the right phrase. I think it speaks volume to the fact that Switch just needs more games. Because
Switch just needs better hardware. The hardware was outdated when it came out.
Yeah, when they update the Switch, it needs to not be OLED. It needs to be a better system.
Yeah.
Nintendo, I think, is getting to the point where people are finally going to realize next round of consoles that their consoles are shittier, and people, I think, are going to get upset. The Switch wasn't bad at release, but now it's showing its age humongously. It can barely run Skyrim. And that's a 15-year-old game.
The Switch kind of showed its age when it first came out, in the fact that outside of Breath of the Wild, your Mario games and Animal Crossing, they have no issue running on that, but they're also doing much less in terms of graphics and that stuff. Any modern game that was forced, I say forced, but to be ported to the Switch, because I don't know why you would port The Witcher 3 to the Switch when it can't even get 20 FPS. But yeah, I just feel like it's always been dated. It's always been dated. And if it hadn't been for the Zelda developers and their unbelievable skill in perfecting every ounce of that hardware, I think the Switch would be a much different story than what it is right now.
I mean, that's kind of always been the story, right? Anytime that something came out on the Wii, it was always a shittier version. Anytime that something came out on the GameCube that was cross-platform, that was always kind of the worst version. It's just kind of a thing that Nintendo gamers have lived with. But
except Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 and the GameCube is goated.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously that. But, everybody knows that, so...
they've always just kind of been playing catch up, but still maintaining consistent success throughout really everything. But yeah, back to the list. We can sit here and complain about our live service games. We can sit here and make fun of Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and South
Park. Which
wasn't
on the list.
Which was not on. It was 2023. Wait till next year's list. Just wait till next year's list.
Yeah, I
It won't
guess
be there
it
either.
would have been Yeah, it would have been surprising if it was on the 2023 list.
It won't be there either. But yeah, I mean, everyone bitches and complains about live service games, myself included, and yet 90% of this most played in 2023 are all live service games.
You know, two things. One, I think this goes to show that Woogie is horribly wrong about Fortnite and should automatically pick up playing it because, I mean, are you even a gamer if you're not playing Fortnite at this point? But
Oh, also worth mentioning, Fortnite was #1 across every single platform.
But again, Blizzard screwed up. Never should have gotten rid of Overwatch 1. Overwatch 1 100% would have made that list.
Probably.
Well, I think it brings up an interesting kind of point that like we have all been kind of harping on for a while, but like that doesn't seem to really show through in this article, which I think is kind of weird because it's a good opportunity to mention. Like, yeah, we're not saying that live services suck. We're saying that the, completely brain dead monetization practices of driving a game through monetization and not through a game, which has been a very recent thing. Like it's like, yeah, you can go back and you can look at any games that have collectibles and be like, oh, well, no, it started a long time ago. But at the same time, you look at games like, Roblox is barely a game; it's more of a platform. But like Minecraft and Counter-Strike and Modern Warfare, these wouldn't still be running if they weren't making money. So like obviously they cracked the code of being able to continue to be dominant, continue to make money, but also not piss off every player. So
I will say in the Call of Duty aspect, they did piss off every single one of their players, and they're still number 8 on the list.
Yeah, Call of Duty players are just pissed off at everything.
That's
Sorry,
true.
number 6 on the PC list, third on PlayStation, and second on Xbox. Call of Duty.
Which I'm going to bring up, and I think you guys know what game I'm going to mention here. I am shocked that Disney Dreamlight Valley is not on the list for the reason that I would think Disney is strong enough to come into like a little bit like this, like from the Sims people. Clearly you have a bit of the cozy live simulation game going. I could see Disney Dreamlight Valley being at the bottom of the list of one of those. And I do find it interesting it's not, and I wonder if that's a decline in Disney Dreamlight Valley to the point where maybe in a year we'll see them wrap it up because we're already seeing them start to go back and start doing DLCs when they swore they wouldn't to begin with. So are they now losing money on this project?
Oh, probably. I think,
or not that they're losing money, but that they're not making the targets.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be like a long-standing game or anything. Like I can see them like kind of giving up, especially with like the devs moving on to like the D&D game. I didn't expect to see it. I'm not gonna lie on any of them. I wouldn't have been surprised if I saw it on the Switch list, but it was not on there.
List, yeah.
I am surprised that Fall Guys made like almost every platform, but yeah, Disney Dreamlight Valley. I feel like it's kind of ran its time at this point. I feel like it really just kind of jumped in on the coattails of like the Animal Crossing hype, and not that like, there isn't a market for those kinds of games or anything like that, but like you have like your Stardew Valleys releasing the new update, even still some people playing Animal Crossing. The Sims just has such a reputation at this point that it's probably never going to go away. It's kind of hard to break into that kind of niche player base for long term, at least. And they kind of just fumbled the bag with the whole, oh, it's going to be free to play, and then, oh, it's not going to be free to play anymore. And I mean, that alienated me because I was waiting for it to be free to play, and then it wasn't. So I'm assuming I'm probably not the only person that just never ended up playing it.
Well, that, and then you also have Palia that's come out last year, who I would say is probably its strongest competition because it's very similar, but it's a completely free game. Like, sure, it has its, like, you can pay for certain content of, like, different skins and stuff, but for the most part, that's a free game, download free, same kind of update schedule, so.
Yeah, and I feel like with Disney having that partnership with Epic and Fortnite.
That's true too.
They like I wouldn't be surprised if like they just kind of relied on that for their portion of like the live service revenue, or like made like a cozy game in Fortnite or whatever, like because they just probably make so much money off the skins and stuff over there. And like, why bother
Makes sense.
trying to make your own thing? But yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting list. I mean, it shows you like I feel like we're all the type of gamers who, we like stories. We all play AAA single player games, story driven games, even like co-op games and multiplayer games. But I feel like this list just goes to show that like no matter how good, and I'm not discrediting anything that those style of games have like accomplished and anything like that, but like no matter how much like we talk about those games, and even like people in the games media and all these awards, it's still will always be the minority of the gaming industry. And I feel like this list shows you that, because you have like your Fortnites, you have your Call of Duties, all of your sport games like EA Sports, like the UFC game, um, you know, Madden, FIFA, all of those are all on these top lists. And I don't really have any friends who play any of those games, but like we will always be like the minority, even though like Madden 26 isn't gonna win Game of the Year, and we'll probably talk about what wins Game of the Year next year, but Madden 26 is gonna make 15 times the amount of money that next year's Game of the Year winner is going to make, just because there's that many people playing these other games, and a lot of them are free to play. Not the sports games, but a lot of the other ones are free to play. And even if they're not free to play, they have a lot of microtransactions in them.
And they
So
do
clearly,
well.
people don't as much of a fuss as they want to make about microtransactions, and rightfully so. There's a reason why. Like, this list shows you why these companies are still in 2024 and beyond going all in on microtransactions
Right.
and live service games.
Which is why I think it's interesting, because I think you're hinting at the drama that was, what was it, last week, about, was it Dogma? Where people were crazy about that. But it makes sense why you have a game that was notoriously more of a story type game start to transition and find that way to create both as a way to bring in more people.
Yeah, because as much as like it's scummy to have a $70 game and then have microtransactions on top of that, they wouldn't do it if there wasn't a market for it.
Simmons was able to get to Sims 4 before they decided to change that.
Yeah.
So
and like I think I mentioned it last week, but like every one of Capcom's latest releases has been like that. It's a single player story game for the most part, and it just has a bunch of optional microtransactions in it, and clearly people are buying them, or they wouldn't, waste the effort to put those in the game.
Right. Any
Thoughts,
last
Woogie?
words, Woogie?
There was a point in time where I played Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Me and my friend went back and played the OG Modern Warfare 2 on Steam a couple months ago.
That was the one. That was the one
So
I played
much
on Xbox.
fun. Oh my god.
I missed it.
We played against like the same six people every multiplayer lobby.
These 6 in there.
Yeah. It was so funny.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I played Warzone. I've played Fortnite. They are fun games, and I totally get, that people do get value out of them, and they are delivering content that people enjoy, even if like I can't understand it. It's like obviously it's working. So
Look,
Yeah.
I'll concede that one point.
we can play Fortnite, and you can just hit people with a car. You can just drive around and have your own fun.
At that point, why not just play Grand Theft Auto?
That's true. Good point.
You got to deal with all the hackers and the modders.
Dude, that's why I stopped playing, was all the hacking.
Yeah, it's so
Or
funny.
not even hacking.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better to call them modders because they don't actually hack. They just pay money for a program
Yeah.
like buttons. So yeah.
Have you, speaking of hackers, have you guys seen the discourse regarding Helldivers? Is it Helldivers 2?
Oh my god. Are you talking about
The accessibility?
no, I think we're talking about different things.
Oh.
There's
What were you talking about?
Hellblade, the discourse around Hellblade 2 this week because it's like
No.
capped at 30 FPS on consoles and people are pissed when every console game for the most part is like
Is that why I saw someone say today, I'd rather have a good steady 30 than a constant
Like a-
wavering 60?
yeah. I mean, like, of course you want 60, but like Hellblade, it's probably, if not the most, one of the most graphically demanding games you'll probably ever play. It's kind of like a part of the game is how unbelievable the graphics look. And so, yeah, of course it's going to be 30 FPS on Xbox. You can't have both. Like, it's very rare that you have both on console, even on PC most of the time now. But yeah, I don't know what the Helldivers 2 thing is.
Yeah, so the Helldivers 2 thing is basically I don't know if you guys ever watch, but some people who don't have function in their hands to do the regular just keyboard style gaming, they have certain accessibility things that they can like use the head motion or like different things that work with it. But Helldivers 2 didn't create any type of like all of their programs instantly shut down that stuff. So people who need accessibility aids are not able to play this game at all. And they've been trying to work this week to try and grab attention of the developers to fix that. And the reason it made me think of the hackers conversation was because the opposite side of this now, which was so stupid, was this person who was like, well, if you allow that in, then all the hackers will come in and that's why Apex is ruined. And it's just dumb. Like, I think that Helldivers 2 should make the game accessible. If most games are like, if that's set up stuff to help, then we shouldn't just like shut it down. And no, it does not help hacking. Like,
yeah, I feel like, I mean, granted, I'm not a game developer, but I feel like that's a bit of a stretch in terms of assuming accessibility options are going to make the game more hackable.
But yeah,
and that, insinuating that's why Apex was ruined because they made it more
like...
accessible.
And to be clear, that wasn't the developer who came back with that, but it's just the people who are fighting on the behalf of why like Helldivers 2 shouldn't be accessible. But at the end of the day, here's the thing. People play games to have fun. And if there are people who want to play your game, I just believe that you should make that available. Like, especially if it's an accessibility issue. Like, there's got to be something we can do to do that. So Helldivers 2 developers, if you're watching this, please, please, please add the accessibility stuff that everyone's asking for from you guys this week on social media.
And we know you guys are watching.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you watch us?
Yeah.
Honestly, it sounds like price of admission. You know, if you want to play Helldivers, you gotta have working appendages. You know, I think it's totally
no. Apologize right now.
I have nothing to apologize for.
We're gonna delete you.
Pal World had a really big update today. Remember Pal World? It was.
Yeah, is that game still? Do people still play it, or did the
yeah,
hype die
yeah. The hype definitely died down, and then Helldivers kind of took over for a while. But people wanted more content. They got more content in Pal World.
Was the content good though?
It's called the Raid Boss update. There's now a raid boss that you can summon. I haven't really played much of Pal World. Probably not Mewtwo.
No.
Wink. But yeah, I mean, the patch notes are practically a novel in length, so I'm not going to sit here and read them all. And I also am not too familiar with Pal World, so none of it really makes any sense to me. But there's a very large raid boss, which is cool. It kind of looks like it doesn't look anything like Mewtwo. It kind of looks like Gardevoir, though, like a blue one, though. So they're not beating those allegations.
We know how much I know about Pokemon. It's very slim. I know that there is a Pokemon that's a balloon and it steals children, And I have stayed
Yeah.
on that hill since day one.
It's a episode 1 throwback right there. But yeah, go check out Pal World. I updated it earlier today, so I will hopefully finally actually play it.
I've
You know
never
what's
played
been
it.
getting you know what's been getting a lot of attention this week too, which is interesting because it's not available on anything but itch.io.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen people playing That's Not My Neighbor?
No.
No.
It's taken over. Like it is a really good like let's play game for YouTubers. It's basically Papers, Please, only with like a sci-fi kind of twist. Like you're a doorman for preventing doppelgangers from getting in, and it's very similar to Papers, Please. You have to keep track of everything. You have to make sure of things, but I definitely I'm disappointed that it's not like on Steam, but like you can buy it for $3 on itch.io, and it looks like it's available
Yeah.
for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So like they could very easily come to Steam at some point, but it looks like a lot of fun. Definitely want to try it out. But lots of people have been playing it this week on YouTube.
You know what also gained some steam this week and is not available anywhere?
What?
The Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. Oh my god, I was so happy when I saw this headline. Saber Interactive CEO says the KOTOR remake is, quote, alive and well. They spoke to IGN, Saber Interactive CEO Matthew Karch, hope I pronounced that correctly, confirmed that they took the KOTOR remake with them after they split from Embracer Group, and that the game is still in active development. Saying, quote, "It's clear and it's obvious that we're working on this," which it wasn't. I will say. It's been in the press numerous times. What I will say is that the game is alive and well, and we're dedicated to making sure we exceed consumer expectations. Yeah, I mean, the first part of that is kind of bullshit. Like we knew at one point the game was announced, but in like the last 2 years, all that anyone has been talking about is that this game has either been secretly canceled, or it's just another form of gone completely. So to say it's clear and obvious that we're working on it now, it is again, but like there's no way they weren't aware of the conversation surrounding this remake. But I know, Kimmy, you probably don't care about the KOTOR remake. However, kind of bring it back to something you do care about. You see, the original KOTOR was a turn-based game. And many people assumed that with the remake they would make it more of like a modern RPG in terms of like an action-oriented kind of third-person camera. But with the success of Baldur's Gate 3, they could just it wouldn't be that big of a stretch to assume or like to think that they would try to replicate that old turn-based game system, but like with modern graphics.
Interesting. I'm intrigued. Look, I like Mandalorian, and I've seen probably a good 60% of the 7 movies. Like,
there's a couple at the end that you can just kind of disregard, but
they're fine.
But there's like
the
other
one.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like the franchise scares me just because there's so much knowledge to know. Like I've never seen the animation series. Although the stuff that I've been seeing for the new show on Disney Plus that will be coming out looks pretty sick.
Well,
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
In favor of yourself and people in your similar situation, this game is set so far before any of the movies or TV shows that you don't have to watch any of them to play it.
You basically need to know lightsabers exist.
I know that much, and I know that they're different colors depending on like situations.
Correct. You got it. Yeah, I mean, So I expect to see a review of the KOTOR remake from you when it comes out.
Sweet. Tune in.
But yeah, I was giddy when I heard that news.
Yeah,
Um,
because I'm pretty sure you said you were the one who mentioned like in episode 2. Wow, we're doing a lot of throwbacks to our episodes.
yeah,
That you thought maybe this was
yeah,
like this
this
was
is
the
gone for.
confirmation. Yeah.
Yeah. What? But obviously they're working on it. Why
Clearly,
wouldn't they?
how
They
could
just
you doubt them?
all they did was delist the trailer, the reveal trailer from YouTube. So, um, but kind of in a way pivoting to another Star Wars game, upcoming Star Wars Outlaws, which I still don't believe is coming out this year, but Ubisoft certainly does. And it's been rated in a couple countries, so I guess it is probably coming out this year. But Ubisoft is hosting a Forward event, Ubisoft Forward, a live event to discuss updates on games and upcoming releases. And a lot of people, everyone expects to see some more stuff from Star Wars Outlaws at this event. It's on June 10th. I believe it'll be streaming, but the biggest kind of piece of rumor news that came from this is that while Star Wars Outlaws is practically a given to appear, many are expecting the Splinter Cell remake to finally get some more news at this event. So I don't know if either of you have played Splinter Cell. I used to play when I was a kid,
I
but
was a big fan until they remade it twice. The first remake was okay, then it started getting shit.
but yeah, so I think it was like I want to say it was in 2022 they announced that they were remaking Splinter Cell, but then just like never said anything else about it. And I guess they technically still haven't. But after the announcement of the Ubisoft Forward, Ubisoft Toronto updated their Facebook page to their cover photo is now like the three green like night vision lights from Splinter Cell, and their profile picture is now entirely green. Um, so it seems very likely that this Ubisoft Forward will have some sort of Splinter Cell remake news. What exactly that is, I don't know. I don't expect it to come out anytime soon, but maybe like next year. If
For
you hear from
the
them.
non-gamers, apparently in this co-hosting group, aka me, what kind of game is this?
Splinter Cell, it's like a spy game. Um, you're like a spy and you
Heavily,
kill people.
well,
Stealth
it's
game.
heavily implied to be stealth, but like starting with the second and third games in the series, they started making it you could play it as action based. You'll be able to choose how you'd want to play each level, and you get more points if you did it more stealthily and less kills. Then they remade it twice. Once was a next gen
Which
remake that
upset
also
you?
had, well, so they had it was Double Agent was the fourth one in the series, and it was a next gen remake that also there was I don't know if you guys remember, there was that period of time where they would do next gen from Xbox to Xbox 360, from PS2 to PS3,
Oh
but they
yeah.
would have Xbox and PS2 versions released alongside them that were shit. And that's what Double Agent was, and I only had the Xbox at the time.
Got it.
Didn't like the changes they made in the next gen, but then they came out with Blacklist. Blacklist was fantastic. It really emphasized more of the stealth-based stuff. Very, very fun. And then they did a lot of really cool visual things. And then it got shit again. So hopefully
Well,
the remake will pull more of a Blacklist than a Double Agent.
sweet.
What about Conviction? What are your thoughts on Splinter Cell Conviction?
I saw a little bit of it, and I was immediately not interested. I mean, I obviously like it's hard because like I had the same problem with Metal Gear Solid 5, which I did play, but I didn't like Snake's voice actor changing so dramatically. Like it was a completely different person. The voice actor was such a big part of that character. they did the same thing when they got rid of Sam Fisher's voice and changed it to somebody else, and it's really like it's jarring. And I think that like you have to be able to hold the attention of people that have issues like I do with that, and they didn't. They made it look like not Splinter Cell. It was a new game entirely, and I didn't want that. I wanted to play Splinter Cell.
It was like very actiony, and barely any stealth. We're kind of just gonna keep on trucking with these rumors, because that's the part of the show that we're at. We're in the rumor
Rumors
roundup.
section.
The rumor roundup. So Final Fantasy IX remake, rumors have been sparked back up, for what everyone hopes is the next Final Fantasy remake. But they've been fueled by none other than Final Fantasy XIV game director Yoshi P.
Oh,
So it's coming from a very good source. I guess with Final Fantasy XIV, their newest expansion, Dawn Trail, has a lot of Final Fantasy IX pre-order bonuses. And when asked about it at PAX East, Yoshi P said on stage, that you may have noticed a lot of Final Fantasy IX references here, but the reason is a secret. So there is a reason why. There is a reason why there are those cosmetics and things and the pre-order bonuses, but it's a secret. What could the secret be? Kind of really can only be one thing.
Watch that, like we're completely deleting Final Fantasy IX.
And then even kind of adding to that fire, take this with a grain of salt. It's just one of those, social media scoopers, insiders, don't ever know if they're telling the truth or just farming engagement. But user Silk Knight stated that the Final Fantasy IX remake will be a multi-platform release, and come to Xbox, which would be the first Final Fantasy game in a while to make its way to all Microsoft consoles. But again, take that with the
And
grain
if you
of salt.
want to hear about my experience with the last one that did, you can go back to episode something.
Oh my
last
God.
week, I think. Either 3 or 4.
If you don't watch every episode in our new playlist today,
you're gonna be so lost.
You're gonna be so lost next week. Just like imagine how many references we'll make next week to this week's and previous. But yeah, that's really exciting. Another rumor that hit the old Twitter X.com, is that the Dead Cells developers are working on a new Prince of Persia roguelite, called The Rogue Prince of Persia, for Steam Early Access later this year. It would receive constant free updates and evolve over time based on community feedback. And the art direction is heavily inspired from Franco-Belgian comics.
I feel like
this also feels like it could be more legitimate than others. With the success of the Prince of Persia game earlier this year or last year, I don't remember when it came out. With that success, it would make sense for Ubisoft to kind of make more in the series. And this is another game that I wouldn't be surprised if it's a surprise announcement at the Ubisoft Forward. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm excited. I'm excited to see Prince of Persia's like resurgence, and a roguelite. There's definitely a market for a roguelite on Steam, and I'm hesitant to call it like a game as a service. Like the constant updates, I don't feel like it's a live service game if you're just getting constant free updates, and evolving over time. Maybe you could make that correlation, but it sounds really cool. And the last rumor kind of just squeaked in, I think today, either today or yesterday. Apparently we could be getting some news about Gears of War 6 this
Huh.
summer. Multiple reporters claim the first information on the next entry is to be revealed. This comes from the Kind of Funny Xcast, where host Paris Lilly made a prediction that Gears 6 would kind of arrive with the next gen Xbox. And they had Jeff Grubb, known and respected industry insider, on the show. And sorry, I'm trying to find his quote.
Failure.
Can't find it. He said, I will say I've heard some stuff might be happening with Gear 6 this summer, so I expect that tease sounds about right to me. And then even furthering that, The Verge's Tom Warren simply quoted the tweet about Jeff Grubb's quote and just said correct. So it really just kind of seems like Gears 6 news is coming. So, I think we talk a lot on the show about how Xbox doesn't really they have games, but they haven't done as well of a job as Sony has in developing those exclusives. And Gears is one of their biggest and most underutilized, and it's kind of right there with Fable. People love Fable, people love Gears, and Microsoft isn't really doing anything with either of them. Though there is a new Fable game in the works, it's just it took 10 years since Fable 3 to get a new one in the works. But yeah, I guess kind of exciting news. I don't have an Xbox. I would honestly consider getting one to play Gear 6. So I could see, that kind of driving a lot of people towards their consoles, especially if it's like a launch title for the new one.
Nice. I also do not have an Xbox, but I have my
Well,
Xbox Game Pass.
I have an Xbox.
Well, aren't you the lucky one?
Apparently.
Do we have any other stories? Rapid fire? Was that our rapid?
That's
fire?
it. Yeah. No rapid fire section this week. We kind of the only rapid fire news I had was the Sea of Thieves one, and I just had a better segue to it earlier in the show. So no
Well,
rapid fire this week.
that is fun. Okay, what is the best game that you're looking forward to come out so far this year that you know of?
Best? Which game do I think will be the best, or
Which
game
game
am I
do you
most
think is
excited for?
your top game that you're super excited for?
Off the top of my head, I'm having difficulties remembering what games are coming out. But because I've talked so much about Ubisoft recently, all I can think about is Star Wars Outlaws. So I guess that one. I'm super weary of it. I want it to be good, and I want that open world Star Wars RPG. I'm not holding my breath that it'll be good. I am crossing my fingers that it will, though. What about you?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of the games right now in the indie side of things, I always just find the month before they launch.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I don't really think there's anything that I have my eyes set on, or maybe I'm just completely forgetting about it. But I also feel like I'm one of those gamers that has that buys games before I finish any games, and then constantly just on to the next one. Ooh, shiny, new. This looks cool.
Yeah, I also kind of feel like we're only in April, but I feel like most of the year's heavy hitters have already came out.
Really?
Outside of the Elden Ring DLC, that's the elephant in the room, right? But that's just it's probably will be the size of a game, but it is technically DLC. But outside of that, I feel like the year's heavy hitters are mostly out at this point.
Interesting.
I will say, other than the Elden Ring expansion, another one that is kind of ready to come out this year is the Paper Mario.
Ooh, that
Thousand Year
does
Door.
look
Oh,
good.
right. Yeah.
So that'll probably hit big.
That does
Yeah.
look good. I think my game, the one I'm most excited for, comes out in 2025, and that's Paralives.
That doesn't fall in the
I
doesn't
know!
fall in the criteria.
Well, I'm making my own criteria.
Other games, No Rest for the Wicked. I think it launches in early access later this month.
Nice.
It's from the Ori and the Blind Forest devs. I'm really looking forward to that. Sandland, the Kira Toriyama game. I'll pick that up probably later this month. And I guess like Stellar Blade is like the next big game, I feel like, but like even then I feel like it'll have more of like a niche player base. Tales of Kenzera, like these are all like I'm sure they'll be great games, but they're not like, they won't captivate the entire industry. Like
Right.
they'll get their like they'll get what they like they'll get like the acclaim and like respect and everything that they deserve and stuff, but like it's not going to be like your Baldur's Gates, like your Cyberpunks, like these massive games that like everyone is playing, outside of like the Elden Ring DLC. I feel like, and Paper Mario is another good one.
Another one that I think is probably it's either going to be mid or amazing. There's no in between.
There's no in between.
And I don't think it'll be shit, but it's Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, because that one has been continually referenced at the launch of Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk as like choices matter RPG,
Do love a good
huge
choices
like
matter.
yeah, and like that one I never got to play the original, unfortunately. It just wasn't my time. I was either too young or too old when it came out. I don't know which one. But like I never played it, but like hearing people talk about it, it was the Cyberpunk back in the day, the huge storylines, the big choices, like, and then maybe a couple choices that you wanted to be bigger, but overall people hold it in very high regard. So hopefully it's been long enough that they've been working on it. It's supposed to come out this year. I could be excited for that.
Nice.
The
go ahead.
The Indiana Jones game
Does that come
might
out this
pop
year?
off. I think it's like it has 2024 as its release date.
But it doesn't have a set
doesn't
date
have
yet.
Going to suck.
Yeah.
It's gonna
I-
suck.
Don't say that.
I don't think so. I think, I mean, I love the developers.
I just
Machine
really
Games
love Indiana Jones.
and
That's a franchise I really enjoy.
Machine Games. If you haven't played the new Wolfenstein games, oh my god, the best single player first person shooter experience you'll probably ever have. Unbelievable games. Mostly for like the main series. So do I wish it was third person, the Indiana Jones game? Yes. But if it's going to be first person, I feel like they couldn't have gotten a better people to work on it than Machine Games. So I'll have the faith in them until I'm proven wrong. But yeah, like outside of that, like that probably will. I feel like I'm just assuming any game that doesn't have an actual release date is going to get
Pushed back.
delayed into
Makes
2025.
sense.
Like so that will probably. I think like the Silent Hill remake will come out. Silent Hill 2 remake will come out, and I think that one will bomb. At least going fully off of like the trailer and the gameplay trailer, it unfortunately did not look great.
Well, they already made a really good Silent Hill remake. That was Shattered Memories on the Wii. That was one that I was working at a game store when it came out, and I had so much hype for it and loved it so much, even though I didn't own a Wii, that I sold all of our copies just by talking about it to people. It was such a great game. So they've already done it. They don't need to do it again.
Yeah, they did it 20 years ago. Who needs a new one?
Well,
And that also the only other one that did kind of catch my eye as well that could be horrible, but seems to be on a publisher that doesn't make horrible games, is Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream. Sword Art Online is one of the only anime that I've ever actually gotten into. It is one of my favorites, even though it sucks. I love it to death. You're wrong.
Art. I can't
You're
stand
wrong.
it. I'm sorry.
You're just wrong. It's okay to be wrong,
That's
but
fine.
just you're wrong.
That's not even my hottest anime take. Like, but I don't.
Well,
I don't
do
like
it.
Dragon Ball, or Naruto, but either way, this one it does seem interesting because it actually seems to it's done by Bandai Namco, which that's published by them. The developer is someone
Yeah.
who hasn't really done much except for Soul Calibur stuff, which is weird. But either
They
way,
made
it's
didn't they make the most recent Jujutsu Kaisen game though? They did, and it was horrible.
oh yeah, I mean that's the thing though, right? Is like they made Soul Calibur 4 and they made some stuff on Dragon Ball, and like it's like I feel like they haven't done anything for a while. So I feel like this is a good like if this was the thing that they were working on the whole time, and especially with you know, Bandai Namco having Elden Ring in their pocket now, like that's got to be what the other studios are being held to. I mean, Tekken
Well,
also did pretty well, as far as I understand,
they
and
no longer have Elden Ring in their pocket,
we
but
we were so close to ending
well,
on
I mean,
time,
it's on their list.
and
Is
then
what
we
I'm saying.
got on a tangent, and it's kind of my
no, it's cool.
fault.
I mean, it's I think I agree with you. It's because it's like a online, like you get to play in the Sword
It's
Art
yeah, it's actually
world.
like Sword Art Online, which is
Yeah, I
definitely
think that's
what
cool.
those of us
Like
that watched it did want. Yeah.
I'd play it. I'd be interested in playing it just because it's honestly not another anime fighting game. Like the
Yeah, that's a
JJK
big
game
thing.
was.
Yeah, like I mean, that's like any of those Dragon Ball or Jujutsu Kaisen or any of those. It's like it's just a remap of another or a changing
Well,
assets of another game.
the
Basically,
Dragon
it's
Ball
like
games are actually good though. The like JJK, like the JJK game and like the Black Clover games, and
oh,
what
I meant
other?
those as two separate things. Like I meant those as the Dragon Ball games and then the copy paste ones because
Gotcha,
I
yeah,
also think that while the Dragon Ball games can be good, they don't have enough content. They don't have
yeah,
enough staying power, and that's something like even Tekken and Street Fighter. They don't have much content, but they have better staying power than the Dragon Ball fighting games, I think. So it's like
yeah,
having something that's separate from that. I'd like to see what they can do with it because if it's something outside of that, it could be good.
yeah.
And
And
it's on
people have been
Unreal
begging.
Engine, so
People have been begging since Sword Art premiered to like have a game where you're playing in the Sword Art game. Um, so I'll definitely take a look at that game when it comes
Does
out.
everybody want to go on a journey with me as I explain the entire plot of Sword Art Online seasons 1 through 3?
So
No,
we're going to
please
wrap
no.
this up
We don't have the
today.
time. We don't have the time
Uh,
nor the patience for
this
that
is
writing.
this is your friendly reminder that if you want to play Fallout before the series begins next week, you should probably start that now. I have never played Fallout in my life, but I will definitely be tuning in to next week. I'm excited to see.
I didn't even know it started next week.
Yeah, doesn't it? It comes out on Friday next week on Netflix.
I actually
I'm
saw a
not
really cool.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I just didn't know.
I saw a really cool in I think it was in Brazil or Argentina. They had a poster advertising the Fallout TV show, and somebody vandalized it, but they vandalized it in the theme of Fallout.
That's
Because
awesome.
Quality.
yeah, like one of the biggest things is like the fuck NCR. Like that's what like you see that spray painted everywhere, and it's based around the NCR. It was a little confusing at first because it said fuck NRC, and I was like, oh, they don't even know it. But it turns out that in Spanish speaking countries, it is the New Republic of California. So it did. It was spot on. It was perfect. I'm like, why didn't they just
That's
do
incredible.
that? You know, like
Oh
that
my
is
gosh.
great.
Well, that wraps up our show today. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe. If you have missed other episodes, you can always check out our playlist. You can also check out other videos. I did recently a review for Lightyear
Buzz
Frontier,
Lightyear?
not Buzz Lightyear. I know Danny writes articles on Illuminerdi.com, so make sure to check
See,
that out as well.
and these are the
We're
type
just
of
gonna
in jokes
keep it-
that you're not going to get if you don't start back from episode 1. So
From
you really
episode
gotta.
1, it was just episode like whatever.
I'm saying
last week's
that
episode
like
was.
yeah, I'm saying like this will be like you won't get all these in jokes unless you
Oh,
start from
okay.
episode 1. So
Thankfully, you don't have that much to watch. So
That's
to all of our
true.
new viewers, go take a peek at the last 4 episodes.
True that. I've been your girl, Kimmy Ann. You can find me on It's the Blonde Life, with blonde spelled incorrectly because I'm so clever. Shout out, Danny, where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter/X at the handle right here.
Nice.
I tweet about Shogun, and that's pretty much it.
And Woogie, where can they find you? What cave do
I'll
they need to dig
I'll
through?
I'll see you in hell.
Sounds good. Until next time, have a wonderful week. Make sure to check out Fallout when it comes out next Friday. Again, not a sponsor, just super hyped up about it.
And go watch Sword Art Online and tell Danny how wrong he is.
And
Please.
do we get any
Yeah,
forehead
write in the
kisses?
comments about how wrong I am about Sword Art.
No forehead kisses, but I will say goodnight. I love you, sweet dreams.